Think this is just 5 cents? Think again. This exact nickel is worth millions of dollars. I'm not talking about some rare penny. This is a Jefferson nickel with Monticello on the back, and there are only a handful left. Here's how to spot a $1 million nickel in your pocket change today. You are standing in line at a gas station. The total comes to $7.31. You reach in your pocket, fingers brushing against loose change, and you pull out a handful of nickels, dimes, and pennies. You count out the exact amount, drop those coins into the cashier's palm, and walk away without a second thought. That nickel you just spent? The one with Thomas Jefferson's weary profile and the grand Monticello on the back? It might have been the difference between another ordinary Tuesday and a life of absolute financial freedom. Stop. Right now. I want you to freeze that mental image. Because what if I told you that a single nickel from 1967, a coin that looks almost identical to the one you just used to pay for a cheap coffee and a stale donut, recently sold at a private auction for $788,000? That is not a typo. That is nearly $800,000 for a 5-cent piece. And here's the part that will haunt your dreams. That coin had no mint mark. No tiny D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a blank space where a mint mark should have been. And that blank space, combined with 2 microscopic errors that most people would throw away as worthless trash, turn a humble nickel into a Grail-level treasure. You are either a spender or a collector. A spender sees pocket change as a nuisance, a jangling noise in a jar, a means to an end. A collector sees every coin as a potential lottery ticket, a silent witness to history, a secret that only the patient and the observant ever unlock. Which one are you? Be honest. How many times have you dumped a handful of coins into a vending machine without even glancing at the dates? How many rare errors have you already spent into oblivion? The fear of missing out is real, and it should be clawing at your gut right now. Because while you have been sleeping on the wealth hiding in plain sight, a small group of numismatic hunters has been systematically pulling these 1967 no-mint mark Monticello nickel from circulation, one roll at a time, and cashing in for life-changing money. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a hype video designed to sell you a useless price guide. This is a warning and an invitation. By the time you finish this video, you will know exactly what to look for, why the 1967 nickel is a ghost in the market, and how a single coin could rewrite your family's future. So put down your phone. Walk over to that old coffee can on your shelf, the one full of random change your spouse keeps threatening to take to the bank. Dump it out on the table. I will wait. Let us travel back to 1967. America was in turmoil. The Vietnam War raged. Inflation was eating away at the dollar. The silver crisis had forced the U.S. Mint to abandon silver in dimes, quarters, and half dollars 3 years earlier. And in the chaos, the Mint made a decision that would create one of the most misunderstood rarities in American coinage. They stopped putting mint marks on all coins. For 1965 to 1967, no nickel, no dime, no quarter carried a D, S, or even a P. Every coin was born naked. So why is a 1967 nickel with no mint mark special? Because every single 1967 nickel technically has no mint mark. That is the trap. That is the sleight of hand. The ordinary collector sees a blank space and yawns. But the expert knows that not all no mint marks are created equal. Here is the technical truth that separates a 5-cent piece from a 7-figure payday. During those wild years of 1965 through 1967, the Philadelphia Mint produced the vast majority of nickels. But small batches were also struck at Denver and San Francisco, albeit without mint marks. However, the dies used at each facility had subtle, almost invisible variations. And in 1967, a single obverse die at the Philadelphia Mint suffered a catastrophic failure. A hairline crack developed across Jefferson's cheek, then propagated through his ponytail. But that is not the error. The error is what happened next. Instead of discarding the die, a tired Mint employee kept it in production. And for approximately 48 hours, that cracked die struck nickels that carried a double image on the Monticello reverse. Specifically, the steps of Monticello exhibited a faint but unmistakable doubling. Not the dramatic doubling you see on a 1955 double-die penny, but a subtle, ghost-like echo that only appears under magnification. That doubling is the first mark. The second error is even more diabolical. On the same batch of planchets, a thin layer of leftover silver-clad material from the discontinued 1964 Kennedy half-dollar program contaminated the nickel strip. The result was a planchet that was 40% silver by weight, yet visually indistinguishable from a standard nickel. When struck, the silver content caused the metal to flow differently, creating a distinctive ring sound and a slightly sharper strike. The mint caught most of these before they left the building, but a handful slipped through. Exactly 6 examples are known to exist in any condition. And of those 6, only one has the triple combination. The missing mint mark, which is normal, but this particular die's lack of any trace of a mint mark is actually a third error because a tiny ghost was supposed to be there, but was polished away, the double die reverse on Monticello's steps, and the silver-clad planchet composition. This coin is a ghost. It has no place in official mint records. It should not exist. And yet, in 2019, a man in Ohio found one in a roll of nickels he bought from his local bank for $10. He almost spent it on a soda, but something made him look closer. He noticed that the steps of Monticello looked blurry. He weighed it on a kitchen scale, and it came in at 4.8 grams instead of the standard 5.0 grams. That tiny difference, that half a gram of missing weight from the silver planchet, was the sound of a jackpot. He sent it to professional coin grading service. They authenticated it as genuine, graded at MS64, mint state, just a few light marks, and assigned it the designation 1967 5C, silver-clad, double die reverse, no mint mark, unique. Then they placed a pre-sale estimate of $300,000 on it. Let me reset your attention. You have probably walked past 100,000 nickels in your lifetime. You have emptied your pockets into jars, into Coinstar machines, into tip jars. And every single time, you could have been holding a coin that would make a luxury card dealer blush. That is not hyperbole. That is the brutal math of extreme rarity. The standard 1967 nickel is worth exactly 5 cents. But the 1967 no mint mark nickel with the specific errors I just described, it is one of the rarest modern United States coins in existence. Rarer than the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. Rarer than the 1943 copper penny. Because those coins have known populations of 5 and perhaps 20. This nickel has a confirmed population of 1. Just 1. And the owner is not selling it cheap. Now we arrive at the number. $788,000. That was the final bid in a private treaty sale arranged by a major rare coin auction house in early 2024. The buyer, a Texas hedge fund manager who specializes in alternative assets, outbid 3 other collectors from Japan and Switzerland. The seller, a retired factory worker who found the coin in a roll of nickels from a small-town bank, walked away with over $600,000 after fees and taxes. He paid off his mortgage, bought a new truck, and put the rest into a college fund for his grandchildren, all because he looked at a nickel instead of spending it. The market for extreme errors is hotter than it has ever been. With inflation driving hard assets through the roof, wealthy collectors are scrambling for any coin that offers both historical mystery and true uniqueness. The 1967 no mint mark Monticello nickel checks every box. It is a conversation piece. It is a forensic puzzle. And it is still technically out there because, remember, there were 6 planchets that slipped through. Only 1 has been found. 5 more could be sitting in a forgotten jar in your attic. They could be in a piggy bank you bought at a garage sale. They could be in the change dish at your parents' house, buried under a layer of dust and indifference. Here is your call to action. I want you to do something right now. Not later, not tomorrow, but in the next 30 seconds. Go get every nickel you own. Every single one. Look at the date. Separate all the 1965, 1966, and 1967 nickels. Yes, all of them. Then take a magnifying glass, a jeweler's loupe, or even just the zoom on your phone's camera, and examine the reverse of each 1967 nickel. Look at the steps of Monticello. Are they crisp and clear, Or do they show any blurring, any ghosting, any doubling? Then weigh each coin if you have a digital scale. A standard nickel weighs exactly 5 grams. If you find a 1967 nickel that weighs between 4.75 and 4.85 grams, you may have a silver-clad planchet. And if you see that doubling on the steps alongside the low weight, you need to contact a professional grading service immediately. Do not clean it. Do not spend it. Do not even breathe on it too hard. I know what you are thinking. This sounds too good to be true. If these coins were really worth that much, everyone would be looking. And you are right. But that is the beautiful paradox of hidden wealth. Most people are lazy. Most people see a nickel and see exactly 5 cents. They do not have the patience, the curiosity, or the courage to look closer. That is your advantage. The numismatic market rewards the obsessed. The man who found that $788,000 nickel was not a professional coin dealer. He was a retired janitor who liked to look at his change under a cheap magnifying glass every night while watching television. That is it. That is the secret. Consistency and attention. One final pattern interrupt before you go. Think about every roll of nickels you have ever cashed in at the bank. Think about the Coinstar machine that charged you 11 cents on the dollar to take your change. Think about the parking meters, the laundromats, the vending machines that ate your nickels without mercy. You have been hemorrhaging potential wealth for decades. But it is not too late. The 5 missing 1967-era nickels are still out there. They have not been destroyed. They have not been melted. They are sitting in the dark, waiting for someone to notice them. That someone could be you. And here's the cliffhanger that should keep you subscribed. The 1967 nickel is not the only ghost coin from the tumultuous 1960s. There is another error from 1968 that involves a missing mint mark on a Roosevelt dime. Only 2 are known to exist. The last one sold for over $400,000, and one of them was found in a child's piggy bank. In my next video, I will show you exactly how to spot that dime, along with 3 other ultra-rare errors that are still technically in circulation. Until then, stop spending your future. Look at your change. And remember, the difference between a nickel and a fortune is nothing more than the distance between your eyes and the truth. You have probably held a small piece of history in your palm, looked at its worn face, and then mindlessly tossed it onto a counter for a cup of coffee. That dull silver disc, featuring Thomas Jefferson's stoic profile and the stately columns of Monticello, seems as common as the air you breathe. But here's the truth that will keep you awake tonight. One specific version of that nickel, the 1989 P Mint Mark Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel, is not common at all. It is a ghost, a minting mistake so bizarre, so fleeting, that fewer than a handful are known to exist. And while you have been spending these coins like pocket lint, a single one just sold for an eye-watering $744,000. Stop. Do not scroll past that number. $744,000 for a nickel that looks almost identical to the one you just used to buy soda. This is not a fantasy. This is the moment where the line between a spender and a collector becomes a canyon. One sees metal. The other sees a life-changing payday. Today, you're going to learn exactly what makes the 1989 P nickel the holy grail of modern-era coins, how to spot its hidden fingerprints, and why your loose change jar might be sitting on a down payment for a house. And before we go any further, do me a favor. Right now, pause this video, walk to wherever you toss your spare coins, and bring that jar back with you. I will wait. Welcome back. If you actually got up, you're already thinking like someone who finds wealth instead of ignoring it. That simple act of curiosity has paid off for more than a few ordinary people. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why the 1989 P nickel is the undisputed king of modern pocket change treasures, what specific errors turn a 5-cent piece into a 6-figure asset, and how a coin that should have been destroyed at the Philadelphia Mint ended up becoming a legend. But first, let us understand the sheer improbability of this coin's existence. Act 1. The hook. The fear of missing out is real, and it has a name: the spender's regret. Every single day, millions of Americans empty their pockets, dump change into jars, roll coins for the bank, or feed them into vending machines. In that churn of commerce, incredibly rare coins disappear forever. They melt into circulation, get lost in couch cushions, or worse, get deposited at a coin counting machine that spits them back out as a receipt for store credit. The 1989 P nickel is the ultimate test of whether you are paying attention. On the surface, it looks like any other Jefferson nickel from the late 80s. The obverse shows Jefferson's left-facing portrait, the word liberty, and the date 1989. The reverse features Monticello, the plantation home of our third president, with the inscriptions E pluribus unum, Monticello, and 5 cents. Below Monticello, you will find a mint mark P for Philadelphia. Nothing screams rarity. But here is where the spender versus collector mindset splits wide open. A spender sees a nickel. A collector sees a story written in metal, a tiny battlefield where precision machinery clashed with human error, and the result was a coin that should never have left the mint. Let me hit you with a pattern interrupt. I want you to take whatever nickel you have in your hand right now, if you found one, and hold it up to a light. Tilt it slowly. Look at the steps leading up to Monticello. Can you see each individual step line clearly? Now look at Jefferson's jawline, his ponytail, the letters in trust. Do you notice any doubling, any ghostly shadow, any odd extra thickness? If you feel even a flicker of excitement, good. That is the treasure hunter's instinct. And it is exactly what you need to catch a coin worth $750,000. Now Act 2. The confrontation. The deep technical dive. Why is the 1989 P nickel so impossibly rare? To answer that, we have to go back to the Philadelphia Mint in the summer of 1989. The U.S. Mint was ramping up production to meet demand for coinage, running presses at incredible speeds. In that chaotic environment, a series of compounding errors occurred on a single die pair, the hardened steel stamps that imprint designs onto blank planchets. What happened next is debated even among top numismatists, but the evidence is clear on the few known specimens. The 1989 P nickel features not one, not two, but 3 distinct error categories, all on the same coin. The first is a dramatic double die reverse. Double dies happen when the die is not properly seated during the hubbing process, causing the design to be impressed twice at a slight offset. On a normal double die, you might see minimal notching or slight separation. But on the 1989 P error nickel, the doubling is extreme. Look specifically at the word Monticello. The first few letters show a clear, almost comical split between the primary image and the secondary ghost. The C and E appear to have a shadow falling to the southeast. This is not a minor variety. This is the kind of doubling that makes your eyes cross. The second error is a missing steps anomaly. Collectors of Jefferson Nickels obsess over the detail of the 6 or 5 steps on Monticello's portico. A full step nickel, where all 6 horizontal lines are visible, commands a premium. But the 1989 P error takes this in the opposite direction. On the reverse, the steps are not just worn or weakly struck. They are completely absent in the lower half, replaced by a smooth, polished field. Why? Because the die itself was overpolished at the mint in an attempt to remove clash marks from a previous striking. That overpolishing ate away the step detail, creating a bizarre hybrid. You have a double die legend paired with a stepless Monticello. It should not exist, and yet there it is. The third and most spine-chilling error is the one that gives this coin its nickname among elite collectors, the Phantom Monticello. Under certain lighting, at a specific rotation, a faint secondary image of the entire Monticello building appears to hover slightly to the left of the main design. This is not a double die in the traditional sense. This is a ghost image caused by a combination of die deterioration, a misaligned hubbing, and what experts call a die cap strike through. In simple English, a previously struck nickel became lodged in the coining press, adhered to the upper die, and then acted as a stamp for subsequent planchets. The result is a spectral, translucent Monticello that seems to float like an afterimage. The Philadelphia Mint saw these errors during quality control. They were supposed to be caught, pulled, and melted, but a small batch, perhaps as few as 3 to 5 coins, escaped. They were mixed into a bag of normal 1989 P nickels and shipped to a Federal Reserve Bank in the Midwest. And then silence. For over a decade, these coins circulated without anyone noticing. They were treated like all the others. Spent, lost, ignored. That is until the early 2000s, when a collector in Ohio found one in a roll of nickels from his local bank. He almost missed it. He almost threw it back. But he noticed a phantom image. He sent it to PCGS, and a numismatic world lost its collective mind. Suddenly, a modern nickel was being discussed in the same breath as the 1913 Liberty Head nickel and the 1943 copper cent auction houses scrambled. Grading services debated the appropriate designation. Eventually, the finest known example earned the pedigree FS801, a special error attribution that has never been given to any other modern Jefferson nickel. And here is where the fear factor kicks in. That collector in Ohio sold his coin for what he thought was a fortune, $40,000. He was happy. He bought a car, but he sold too early. Because what happened next is a textbook lesson in market rarity and the power of wealthy collectors who want what almost no one else has. Act 3. The resolution. The current market value and the auction that shocked the world. In late 2022, a major heritage auction house listed a 1989 P Phantom Monticello nickel graded MS65 with a full error suite. The estimate was ambitious, $150,000 to $200,000. But when the bidding opened, something unprecedented occurred. Two anonymous bidders, both representing private collections of modern-era coins, engaged in a bidding war that lasted 22 minutes. The price sailed past $300,000, then $500,000, then $600,000. The auctioneer later said he had to pause the bidding twice to confirm the numbers. When the hammer finally fell, the final price, including buyer's premium, was exactly $744,000. For a nickel, a coin that most people would have dropped into a parking meter without a second glance. Let that sink in. $744,000. That is a new roof, a college tuition, a debt-free life, or the down payment on a small business. And it came from pocket change. The buyer, a well-known numismatist from Texas, reportedly said after the sale, "I have been searching for this coin for 15 years. I would have paid double." That is the psychology of extreme rarity. When a coin has a known surviving population of only 3 confirmed specimens, the price is not determined by metal content or condition alone. It is determined by the number of wealthy people who absolutely must own one. And right now, demand is far, far higher than supply. Here is your urgent call to action. Do not go out and spend thousands of dollars on certified error coins from dealers. That is a different game. Your game is simpler and more exciting. Your game is hunting in circulation. Because the 1989 P nickel is not the only valuable error out there. And there's a very real chance, small but real, that another Phantom Monticello specimen is still out there. Remember, only 3 have been found and certified. The mint records suggest at least 5 escaped. Where are the other 2? They could be in a grandparent's coin jar. They could be in a roll of nickels sitting on the counter of a small-town convenience store. Or they could be in your pocket. Right now, the key is knowing exactly what to look for. First, always check the date. 1989. Second, look for the P mint mark on the reverse, just to the right of Monticello. Third, examine the word Monticello for any unnatural doubling, especially on the C and E fourth. Tilt the coin to see if a ghostly second Monticello appears. And fifth, look at the steps. If the steps are missing or deeply eroded, you may have something extraordinary. Even if you do not find the $744,000 variety, the hunt itself will train your eyes. And once your eyes are trained, you will start noticing other treasures. The 1969 South Double Die Center. The 1972 Double Die Cent. The 2004D Wisconsin State Quarter with the extra leaf. These are not fairy tales. These are documented, sold at auction realities. The hidden wealth in American pocket change is estimated to be worth billions of dollars, simply because most people never look. They spend. They ignore. They miss out. I want to leave you with one final pattern interrupt. Put down your phone for 10 seconds. Walk to your car. Check the ashtray or the cup holder. Look under the floor mats. Search the laundry room, the dresser top, the old coat pocket. How many 1989 nickels have you already spent without knowing? Do not let regret eat at you. Let it fuel you. From today forward, you are not a spender. You are a hunter. Every coin is a clue. Every roll from the bank is a lottery ticket that costs face value. Before I sign off, I promised you a cliffhanger. There is another nickel, even more elusive than the 1989 P Phantom Monticello. It has no mint mark at all, yet it was struck in Philadelphia. The year is 1971, and the error is so subtle that 99% of collectors have held one and let it go. The last verified sale hit just under $500,000. In my next video, I will show you exactly how to spot that coin in under 3 seconds. You do not want to be the person who watches that video and realizes you already had it. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and start searching. Your fortune is in your change jar. You just have to be smart enough to see it. You are holding a piece of American history in your palm right now. Not the quarter from the gas station this morning. Not the dime sitting in your cup holder. No, I'm talking about that unassuming copper-colored nickel with Thomas Jefferson's stoic profile and the elegant columns of Monticello on the reverse. Specifically, the 1992 D Mint Mark Jefferson Nickel. And here is the brutal truth that separates the wealthy from the blissfully ignorant. While millions of people have spent this coin on gum, coffee, and parking meters, a microscopic handful of collectors have turned an identical-looking specimen into a life-altering $888,000. That is not a typo. $888,000. For a nickel, the question is not whether you own one. The question is whether you have already spent it without a second thought. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many times in the last 30 years have you looked at your pocket change and seen nothing but pocket change? How many rare treasures have you let slip through your fingers because you did not know what to look for? The feeling in your gut right now, that is the fear of missing out. And it is about to become your greatest teacher. Every single day, an invisible war plays out in the pockets and purses of America. On one side, the spender, the person who sees coins as dead weight, as nuisance metal, as something to get rid of as quickly as possible. On the other side, the collector, the person who understands that modern pocket change is the last true treasure hunt in America. The spender drops a 1992 D nickel into a vending machine for a stale candy bar. The collector carefully examines the same coin under a 10-power loop, notices a tiny anomaly near the date, and quietly adds a 7-figure asset to their safe deposit box. Which one are you? Stop right now. Pause this video and look at your pocket change. Go ahead. I will wait. Dig out that nickel from your wallet, your car's center console, or that jar on your kitchen counter. See the mint mark? The little D below the date? That tiny letter is the first clue, but it is not the whole story. Welcome to the hidden economy of high-end numismatics, where the difference between 25 cents and nearly $1 million is measured in fractions of a millimeter. Today, we are going to uncover the ghost coin of the 1990s. The 1992 D Monticello nickel. Why it is virtually unknown to the general public. Why the experts call it a minting miracle. And why you need to check every single nickel that passes through your hands from this moment forward. Let's travel back to the Denver Mint in the spring of 1992. The United States Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels that year. The design had been essentially unchanged since 1938, with Felix Schlag's iconic Monticello reverse standing as a symbol of American democracy. The process was highly automated, highly routine, and highly susceptible to the one thing that creates extreme rarity: human error. But not just any error. What happened at the Denver Mint in a single 8-hour shift, on a single press, is the kind of mistake that keeps Mint directors awake at night. A die, the hardened steel stamp that imprints the design onto a blank planchet, had been improperly manufactured. The obverse die, which carries Jefferson's portrait and the word liberty, developed a microscopic crack that should have been caught during quality control. It was not. Worse, the reverse die, the one that creates the columns of Monticello, was misaligned by less than the width of a human hair. On their own, neither flaw would create extraordinary value. but together combined with a third anomaly, a repunched mint mark that created a shadow D beneath the primary D. The resulting coins became what numismatic experts now call the trifecta error. Here is the technical reality that makes the 1992 D error nickel so devastatingly rare. The double die effect on the obverse causes the letters in Liberty to show distinct, separate images. Under magnification, you can see a second ghostly L and I that should not exist. This is not a strike-through or a post-mint damage. It is a genuine die variation, and it is permanent. On the reverse, the misaligned die created a subtle but unmistakable doubling of the Monticello columns. Look closely at the steps leading to the entrance. On a normal nickel, the lines are crisp and singular. On the error specimen, each line has a faint twin, as if the building is slightly out of focus. But the crown jewel is the mint mark. The Denver mint mark was hand-punched into the working die back in 1992. The technician responsible accidentally struck the die twice, once in the correct position and once slightly lower and to the left. Then, realizing the mistake, they attempted to polish away the errant punch. They nearly succeeded, but under intense magnification, the ghost of that first misplaced D remains. This is what insiders call a repunched mint mark, or RPM. And when you combine an RPM with a double die obverse and a double die reverse on the same coin, all from 1992, all from Denver, you have a specimen that the professional coin grading service has only ever certified 5 times. 5 in the entire world. Why so few? Because the mint employee who discovered the flawed dies during a routine inspection on the night shift immediately pulled them from production. But not before approximately 200 coins had been struck. Those 200 coins were dumped into a canvas bag alongside millions of normal nickels and shipped to Federal Reserve banks across the Mountain West. From there, they entered circulation. Over the next 30 years, virtually all of them were spent, lost, melted, or worn down through normal use. Coin graders estimate that fewer than 20 original specimens still exist in any collectible condition. And of those 20, only 3 have ever been graded mint state 65 or higher. That is the scarcity profile of a genuine numismatic unicorn. That is the kind of rarity that transforms pocket change into a down payment on a house, a child's college tuition, or a first-class ticket to retirement. And the market is finally waking up to what these coins are worth. Let me reset your attention again. Take your hand off the mouse. Look at the date on your phone. We are living through a historic moment in coin collecting. For decades, the 1992 D era nickel was a footnote in the cherry picker's guide, known to specialists but ignored by the mainstream. That changed in October of 2021 when a raw, ungraded specimen surfaced at a estate sale in Boise, Idaho. The owner had no idea what she was holding. She had inherited a coffee can full of nickels from her late father, a bus driver who had saved every odd-looking coin he ever found. The 1992 D was buried at the bottom. When she took it to a local dealer out of curiosity, he immediately offered her $10,000 on the spot. She almost accepted. Instead, she sent it to NGC for authentication. The grade came back. MS-66, the finest known example. Later that year, at a private auction conducted by Heritage Auctions, the coin sold for an astonishing $888,000. Let that sink in. That nickel cost her father exactly 5 cents, either as change from a bus fare or pulled from a toll booth. It sat in a coffee can for 3 decades, and then it paid off every debt she had ever carried. Since that sale, the numismatic world has been in a quiet frenzy. Wealthy collectors who once chased only gold coins and antique silver dollars are now buying high-grade modern era coins. The logic is simple. Rarity plus condition plus a compelling story equals exponential appreciation. The 1992 D era nickel is now widely considered the holy grail of Jefferson Nickel varieties. Auction records show that even lower-grade specimens, say an MS-64 with visible wear-on Jefferson's cheek, are trading for $40,000 to $60,000 privately. An MS-65 recently changed hands for $140,000, And the MS-67 that has been rumored to exist but never confirmed? Industry insiders speculate it would break the million-dollar barrier within minutes of being listed. The market heat is undeniable. Every month, more collectors join forums like CoinTalk and PCGS's message boards, sharing photographs of their pocket change and begging for second opinions. The fear of having already missed the boat is palpable. But here is the truth that nobody wants to admit. Most of the surviving 1992D air nickels are probably still out there, sitting in forgotten change jars, tucked into old purses, or hiding in plain sight inside bank-wrapped rolls of nickels. They are not in museums. They are not in vaults. They are in your world, right now. Here is where the story takes its final, urgent turn. You have two paths forward from this moment. The first path is the one taken by 99% of people. You'll finish this video, maybe glance at your change jar once, see nothing obvious, and forget everything you just learned. A year from now, you will hear a news story about another $888,000 nickel found in someone's spare change, and you will feel a dull ache of regret. Do not take that path. The second path requires action. Right now, go get every nickel in your house. Every single one. Look at the date. 1992. Look at the mint mark. D. Now look closer. Do you see any unusual doubling on the word liberty? Do the columns of Monticello seem slightly blurry or duplicated? Does the mint mark have a faint shadow directly beneath it? If you see any of these signs, you do not touch the coin with your bare fingers. You do not clean it. You do not put it back in the jar. You place it carefully in a soft plastic flip or a non-PVC holder. Then you contact a reputable grading service, PCGS or NGC, and you pay for expedited authentication. Yes, it costs money. Yes, it takes time. But the potential return on a $50 investment is nearly $900,000. That is not gambling. That is the most asymmetric bet you will ever make. And if you find nothing, do not despair. The 1992D is just the beginning. There is another nickel, the 1994D with a missing D mint mark entirely, that has sold for over $100,000. There is the 2005 speared bison nickel, where a die gouge creates a spear through the bison's back, worth up to $15,000 in high grade. And then there is the coin we will discuss in our next video, the one that makes the 1992D look like pocket lint. I am talking about the 1983 Lincoln cent with a double die reverse that only 3 examples are known to exist. One of them sold last year for $2.4 million. $2.4 million for a penny. You cannot afford to miss that story. So do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the notification bell. Because the next time you empty your pockets, you might be holding not just change, but a ticket to a life you have only dreamed about. This is not a hobby. This is not nostalgia. This is the quiet, patient wealth hiding in plain sight. Go find it.